Let's look at two more. And so that we're expanding our list. And we'll get into one of them, then we'll have to come back to the other one after the break. Here is gods of the heavens and Molech. So the king commanded Hilkiah the high priest and the priests of the second order and keepers of the threshold to bring out of the temple Lord all the vessels made for Baal, for Asherah, and all the hosts of heaven. He burned them outside the fields of the Kindred and carried their ashes. And then he burned incense to Baal, to the sun and the moon and constellation, all the hosts of heaven. And he removed the horses that the king of Judah had dedicated to the sun. Now, remember this, I'm going to show you some interesting pictures. At the entrance to the house of the Lord, and he burned the chariots of the sun with fire, and the altars on the roof of the upper chamber of Ahaz, which Judah had made, and the altars that Manasseh had made. So here is our question: where was worship to the gods of heaven located? It was in the temple of the Lord. It was also a high places worship at the entrance, but it was also on roofs of houses and on their housetops. And they would also bow down to the east, which is one of the reasons why the temple faced east, so that anytime you were bowing down in the presence of God, you would face west, because they didn't want people bowing down facing east. In fact, there's a song that says, I don't know if you know the song, it says, let us break bread together on our knees. Do you know the song? But it says, you don't. It says, when we fall on our knees with our face to the rising sun, you don't want to fall on your knees with your face to the rising sun. That's the wrong direction. So they purposely faced the temple the other way because there was so much sun worship going on at that time. And if you look, both Ur and Haran, where Abraham and Sarah came from, were centers of moon and sun worship. And this became a problem during the Assyrian dominance. There were horses and chariots dedicated to the sun. So here's some ancient things that were dug up around Assyria. And you see the moon there and the sun. And then there's priests that are worshiping to the moon and the sun. Here's another one, the moon god. Do you know that symbol? Okay, the Ottoman Empire, which actually Haran and that whole area of Assyria is now in southern Turkey, and it's been picked up as the symbol of Islam, which is really interesting, is that moon and the star, which actually dates back thousands of years to sun and moon worship. It's interesting symbols today, where they come from. Look at that. That actually goes all the way back to Assyrian sun and moon god worship. There it is right there. Interesting how these symbols hang around for a long time. This, by the way, was found in a bog, but look at what it looks like. There's a horse. Remember it said in the text, the horses that were dedicated to the sun? So the picture, this is a piece of pottery from ancient Greece, and you have the sun god being pulled across the sky by horses. And the reason is because, wow, it's really important that the sun come up, but the sun goes down every day. What would happen if it didn't come up again? Well, we better pray to the horses that bring the sun back, because if they somehow forget and we don't get the sun next day, we're really in trouble. So just think about that picture of got to make sure the chariots bring the sun back across the sky. And this is in a location in India. Amazing how these symbols just go around the world, because here it says the chariots that were dedicated to the sun and the temple. Well, here's a temple in India that has the exact same thing. Horses drawing a chariot of the sun. So there was this picture that there were horses that brought the sun across the sky, and we wanted to make sure that it did that so that it didn't stop going. And that was someplace in India. So you can see how the human heart, it develops things that are similar just really around the world. And you also see in your notes that this is why actually Sunday is called Sunday, because in 321, you'll find this on page 33, the Emperor Constantine declared that Sunday would be the official day of rest throughout the entire Roman Empire. On the venerable day of the sun, let the magistrates and people residing in the cities rest, and let all the workshops close. So the venerable day of the sun. Amazing how many of these symbols actually work their way into Christianity in various places. So they would try to take over those pagan days with those sacrifices. How were they worshiped? They bowed down and served them, worship, love, serve. They burn incense on the roof. And here's bow down towards the east. What do they give me? They give me stability or security. So think about this. The moon, well, it's so stable up there in the sky. The moon gives me light at night. Otherwise, it would be dark, but that moon gives me light. The sun, what would happen? We wouldn't have any harvest if the sun just didn't come, and it comes up over and over again. And I want to make sure it doesn't stop coming up over and over again. When I sail somewhere and I don't know where to go, I can look at the stars, and they're those fixed things that if I steer off of them, I won't get lost. And so this is all about stability, security, keeping things that are important in place and not moving. So what does worship of the gods of the heavens look like today? Like addiction to exercise. If I exercise every day, then my body won't get old. Worship of planning or schedule. I can't take any interruptions. I have to know what's happening 5 days in advance. If anything interrupts, my whole world falls apart because I didn't know it was coming. I want things under control. So it's a different kind of control than Baal control. It's the stability control. I want to make sure that I know everything and that it doesn't move. A fear of change. There are times that people like these obsessive compulsions. I have to wash my hands every day. I have to do this every day. And then somehow the fact that I just keep doing this means that I have this thing under control, that the sun, I'll pull the sun up. Trying to control health. Horoscopes, knowing what's ahead of time. Astrology, decoding the force of nature. Making sure that I have insurance for every possible problem. Holding on to what is known. You can't, unwillingness to move, holding on to people, relationships. Do you see that kind of that stability? I want the sun to come up and to never move. So a to-do list could be a sun, moon, and stars god. For me, it was an Asherah. Do you see how the same thing could be something different, could accomplish something different? But what we want is I want my stability and security to be in God, that He is the stable one. He is the one that holds the whole world together, that all of the universe can shake, and yet He doesn't. Okay, I'm speeding up a little bit now because actually this next one, we're going to get started on this next one. This next one, Molech, is a big deal. Okay, Molech is a huge issue. Molech, gods of destruction, gods of fear. And he defied Topheth, now we're on page 35, which is in the valley of the son of Hinnom, that no one might burn his son or daughter as an offering to Molech. Why would you burn your son or daughter as an offering to Molech? Why in the world would you do that? This is just really, there's some places where you bring wheat or you make raisin cakes and you have a picnic on top of a mountain. This is not fun. This worship is not pleasant at all. Where's worship to Molech? Well, you see, the king defied the high places that were east of Jerusalem, south of the Mount of Corruption, which Solomon had built for Milcom, which is another version of Molech, the abomination of the Ammonites. So where was it located? It was located, this is valley worship. This is not mountain worship. Located in the valley. These are not pleasant places. These are low places. These are not high places. Located in the valley. Now, it was also located on the Mount of Olives, but typically they were in lower places, in ravines and overhanging crags. Interesting. It's an Ammonite god, which is a nation east of the Jordan River. Its name sounds very close to Hebrew Melech, which means king, a little different than Lord. But here is what he looks like, and it's very fascinating to look at these pictures because they're super instructive. Okay, he's a bull. Now, that's a little bit different than Baal, who has horns, but he's kind of a Superman. What are bulls like? Okay, they're angry. And they can get angry really fast. You don't know what they're going to be angry. They're aggressive. They'll hurt you. They're very strong. Anything else? Imposing. Okay, they come when they're not invited. So they invite themselves into places. Anything else? Impulsive. They're unpredictable. You really can't, like you can be walking by a bull and then all of a sudden you really don't know, and then they're after you, or they're protecting their ground, and they just have no problem destroying you. They're strong. Yeah, okay, now this is really important. Why did they burn? This is really important to understand. Why would you burn your children? Now, they have bullfights. Think of what they do in bullfights. Okay, I have a cape. Why do I have a cape? Because I want the bull to attack something besides me. Because that's actually the only way I'm safe in a bull ring. I can't keep the bull from attacking, but I can get the bull to attack something else besides me. All right? Okay, so I do that, or else if someone falls in a bull ring, someone else will run out and try to distract the bull and get the bull chasing them. And that's how they save the person who's on the ground, is they get the bull chasing someone else. Okay? So if you have a hungry bull, you want it chasing someone else. If you have a hungry bull, you want it eating someone besides you, because that's how you save yourself. So I'm willing to sacrifice something precious to save something else. So here's the logic behind it is Molech is the god of destruction. Okay, he's, by the way, in the Marvel universe, he's Thanos. And if you watch Marvel movies, it's exactly, what does Thanos say? He says, I'm going to kill half the population to save the world. Okay, you remember that in the Marvel movies? This is classic Molech thing. So I'm going to destroy to save. So really what I'm trying to do is save, but the path to salvation is destruction. Because that will be what really saves. So here we go. Molech's going to come and get us, but I sacrifice my son, and the whole family is safe. So I'm willing to give up something precious to save something that seems to be more precious, because I appease Molech, and he destroys my child, and he doesn't destroy the village. That's the logic of Molech worship. Now here's another one. This is a classic one today. Abortion. I'm willing to kill a child to save my future. Okay? So do I want to kill a child? No. But there's something worse that will happen if I don't kill that child. And so I'm willing to sacrifice. I'm willing to destroy something so that something else isn't destroyed that maybe seems to me to be more valuable. So this is, if you talk to somebody who went through abortion, did you want to go through abortion? No, it was terrible. But the alternative is worse. Being a single parent. Okay, do you see how this? So this is actually, this God controls me by okay, I know the word in Czech, vidiran. Blackmail, okay, great. So controls me by blackmail. Puts the knife to the throat and says, I don't want to do this, but I have to do it, because if I don't do it, something worse will happen. Okay, we're in a really specific God right now, the false God, the God of Molech. And actually, I think this false god is really sneaky. A lot of people don't realize it because it functions in really a different way, kind of a backwards way. But let's talk just a little bit more about how the sacrifices worked, and then we can see how it works today. So you can see on page 36 that, well, you can also see this here, that sometimes there's a bronze statue and different things were placed in different holes. So like a dove or ewe or ram, and then a child, and they were burned. And here's a picture you can see of a person offering the child up, and they're beating the drums, and the women are wailing, and the drums are being beat to drown out the wailing of the woman as their child is sacrificed. And they don't know, were they given some kind of sedative beforehand or not. But this is really horrible worship. This is not like those raisin cakes on top of the mountain. This is actually, this was burned by heating the child inside. And so it was child sacrifice. And Josiah's grandfather, so Josiah cleansed the land, 2 Kings 23, but his grandfather, Manasseh, sacrificed some of his children to Molech. So that means that he would have had uncles or aunts who never lived because they'd been sacrificed to Molech, which is really pretty horrible, 2 Kings 21:6, and there were other burnt offerings. And in Isaiah 57, on page 37, you see this. It says, whom have you so dreaded and feared that you've been false to me? So sometimes we first serve false gods, not because we want to, we feel like we have to. We fear something, and that fear controls us. And it's not something that and if you'd ask you don't have to do that, you'd go, I don't want to, but yeah, I have to. So what does it give you? It gives you safety or relief from fear, but kind of in a backwards way. You distract destruction by destroying something. You appease fear, you appease the bull, and so the bull doesn't attack you. And so here's some examples. So abortion, I gave you that one. I'll kill a child to save the rest of my life. People pleasing. I will do whatever you want. Let's say I'll do whatever you want, because if you get mad at me, that will destroy me. So I have to make sure that your anger, your displeasure will be destructive. I won't just survive your displeasure, so I have to somehow find out some way of pleasing you or staying so far away from you that I don't ever encounter you, because I can't survive your displeasure. So some people are people pleasers, but they're people pleasers out of fear, because they feel that they'll be destroyed by the displeasure of that person. Avoidance of failure. I had a guy I was discipling who was very smart, but he had a mom who would berate him all the time for the fact that you aren't like your sister, who da-da-da-da-da. But he would, in Prague, go to take a test and come to the door of the place and turn around and go home. So he'd study for 3 days, but not make it into the test. Because for some reason to not take the test was, even though it was destructive, was less destructive than taking the text and finding out that what his mom said about him being a failure was really true. You follow me right there? So there's this, inside that door is a bull. And that bull, if the bull gets me, will destroy me. I can't handle the failure of failing on that test because that's tied to the displeasure of my mother. And so he never finished university, very smart, but he would appease the God of failure by not trying. And also you give up something valuable. He actually was sacrificing something precious to keep from getting destroyed by something else. Lying to look good. So I'll sacrifice truth because that's less of a loss than you thinking poorly of me. You see how these things work? Not being willing to disappoint others. I can't disappoint you. Letting someone control you by your anger, guilt, motivations, or expectations. Their anger controls me. Their expectations, I can't not do what they expect. What if God wants you to do something different? Yeah, but that person wants me to do this. I can't disappoint them. Accusations can control us like this. So we can do whatever we need to make sure that we're not accused. Or guilt motivation. My actions are all designed to push off the bull of guilt, to keep the bull of guilt from consuming me, and so I'm controlled by whatever will distract that bull. A fear of loss, fear of the future, fear of man. Worry. So worry, the energy of worry can be a sacrifice to keep off the destruction of whatever's coming tomorrow. Okay, so there's something bad coming tomorrow, that bull. But if I worry a lot, I will burn up all this energy, and somehow that worry, burning that energy, will keep that horrible thing from happening tomorrow. You see how that kind of works in that circle? But what happens is you lose precious things. Stress, procrastination. I'll put it off, and somehow putting it off means I don't get in the ring with the bull, and I somehow feel protected, being easily threatened. It's really fear of whatever.